Hi there, Jenni and Amanda, women in rural real estate. Today, we would like to talk to you a little bit about managing your clients' expectations when it comes to pricing.
Ugh, this is one I wanted to do because I think every seller that I've done a CMA for in the last 3 months has looked at me and said, that's all my house is worth. So I've had a bit of a struggle around this topic recently.
And this is a tough one because you know what? Every seller thinks their house is worth $1 million, and every buyer wants it for $500,000. Let's just use those numbers to say it. So every seller wants top dollar and every buyer wants to pay as little as possible. So pricing is always going to be a point of contention.
Yeah. One of the strategies I've tried to use in the past is, price it high if that's what they want to do. And then you can use what the market's telling you and go back to them and be like, well, we're not getting any showings. We've had, 25 people come through and no one's written an offer. So we know that the Canadian average is 10 showings for an offer. And if you're way above that, then obviously something's not right with your price.
And I think talking that strategy with your clients, you should be coming to them with a reason and a plan in your CMA as to why you've gotten to a certain number. And you always have to manage their expectations and their comfort level and their future plan, which we've talked to you about before. You don't want to leave people homeless. But
It's tricky.
pricing is really tricky because trying to overachieve it depends on the market you're in, but you need to be able to tell your clients of the downfalls of reaching too high. How does it look from a buyer's perspective if a home was listed at a certain amount and 30 days later it's dropped, and then another 30 days after that it's dropped a little bit more, and you continue that pattern by doing a series of small price adjustments, and now you could be inadvertently creating a stigma sort of against the property that something must be wrong with it. They keep dropping the price. It's not selling. If nobody else wants it, I don't want it. Yeah. So it's a risk.
It is a risk. I always tell my clients that houses are like fruit, and the longer it sits on the shelf at the market, the less it's worth.
And, what was I going to say?
That's all right. Total blank. Well, maybe edit this part out, or maybe we'll leave it. Sometimes doing these is hard. So we were talking about pricing, and Jenni's a lovely shade of pink right now. So I always tell my clients, we're going to be able to tell from the market response. One of my business coaches once told me if you're 10% over what the market thinks the value is, that you'll get no showing requests. So I always use that to try and sway them to, I guess, a more sensible position, in my opinion, of what they should be.
Pricing a home accurately is definitely an important part of the process. And I think a conversation that I always like to have with sellers when you're figuring out that price, and especially if you're pricing it rather sharply because they're told you we're motivated and we want this to sell quickly, is if I list it for this price and I come back to you in 3 days and I bring you an offer for full price, are you going to be happy that you have sold, or are you going to feel like you've left money on the table? And if their answer is, oh, I would feel like I left money on the table, then you don't want to price there, because that's a risk and they're going to be upset with you at the end of the day. Most people think, well, they got what they want, they should be happy. You're managing an expectation and you have advised them on that price. So it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also really important to go into these conversations, I think, with fairly good background knowledge of the comparable sales. I was in a situation once where it was a piece of raw land and the seller wanted to list it at $350. And I said, well, this other one that was 5 times bigger sold for $350. It was an off-market sale, but I knew about it. Sold for $350 like 6 months ago. So I don't think your price is going to be the same. So having that background knowledge is going to help you deal with those objections as they come.
Well, and sometimes when you're out showing property with buyers, especially when you've been in the business for a while, it's not quite as exciting as it was when you first started. Always, like I remember being like, "Yay, I'm going to go show property,"
No.
and that sort of mentality can change over time. But I always look at showing properties as an opportunity for me to see those properties, because when I'm pricing a house and I'm looking at comparables, it is sure helpful when I can say, well, I was actually in that one or I sold that one and here's how it compares to yours. Because if you're in a subdivision type area, say, and you're there listing a property, chances are those people already know all the properties that have sold recently. They have done their own market research and they've been over at Bob and Joe's place and for dinner and whatever, especially in a small community. So they know a lot of these houses too. And if they're more prepared than you are, that might be a problem.
Yeah, that never reflects well on you.
So I always look at showing property as an opportunity to gain market knowledge.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's going to make a big difference when you're sitting down with comparables. The houses that you do know, you can speak more confidently about, and the numbers will make more sense to you too.
Yeah. And the ones you haven't been in, take the time, look through the pictures, read the listing, take a quick look at the PDS, whatever you can do to bring yourself up to speed with it. So at least if your clients ask you about it, you can say, well, you know what, I haven't been in that particular home, but in reviewing the pictures, it looks like it had some nice updates. It has a detached shop, whatever thing, it has a newer roof, whatever. There's a lot of knowledge that you can get from reading the listings.
Lots of it.
So take the time and do that, because it's going to make your clients feel a lot more comfortable when they're deciding whether or not to list with you. To have as much market knowledge as possible, and the fact that you are prepared and have taken the time.
Another thing that one of my old brokers actually taught me is when you're first talking to somebody who wants a value on their house, is ask them what they think it's worth. I haven't always done this, and there's one time that stands out in particular where I stopped my comparables at 300 because I thought there's no way it's going to be worth more than 300, and the sellers were like, "Oh no, we think it's worth lots more than 300." And actually, for that one, we did list it over 3 and sold it quite quickly for more. When we signed the paperwork, I told them, I don't think I can get you this for your house. So I've been wrong before, but knowing where they think it should be at, if I had asked that question ahead of time, I would have been much more prepared for that meeting with them and wouldn't.
Absolutely. And make yourself a little checklist of the things that you would like to know before even going out there. I've started doing that more now. I used to have a strategy where I went and saw the property and then I came back and I did research and then I called them or went back out and met them. And it was really time consuming. And when the market picked up pace and things got so hectic, it was hard to find time for that other appointment and stuff. So I switched my strategy and I now have a good conversation with them up front about what their home is, the age of the major components, the square footage, any sort of information they can give me, what kind of updates they've done. And then I do the research. I check BC assessment for land sizes. I check the listing history, and then I research comparables. And then at least I'm going out there with sort of a gauge, and then I can use sort of my experience and a little bit my gut once I'm there to help figure out where their house is going to fall in between all these comparables. Because if you're in a market anywhere like us, no two homes are the same. And so anybody working in rural real estate will know exactly what we're talking about. They don't build subdivisions here. They build houses, and every single one of them is unique.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to get to know it and use your gut and then trust your gut. So hopefully that'll help you guys manage your clients' expectations a little. It's always kind of tricky talking price because some sellers are just so proud of their homes, I guess, prideful. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you guys.
And anytime, reach out. We are happy to chat. We're the women in rural real estate.
There you go. Have a great day.